Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and I'm a full-time reseller on both eBay and Amazon. I've been on eBay over 15 years and I've been on Amazon about 3. So I have quite a few Amazon retail arbitrage videos up on my channel. They're my most popular videos. And whenever a new one comes out, I tend to get the same questions in the comments over and over and over again. And I love that you guys have a lot of questions you want to ask me. So rather than reply to every comment one by one, I figured I would make a video addressing the most common beginner Amazon questions. Because a lot of you want to get started selling on Amazon, but you're a little scared and maybe you had some questions first. So I want to help you on this journey. So if you haven't started your Amazon journey yet, or you just started and you're curious, you're gonna wanna stick around. And definitely stay to the end because I have some really big news I wanna share. So without further ado, let's get to the frequently asked beginner Amazon questions. Roll the intro. The first question I get asked a lot is, do I need to have a business to sell on Amazon? I think a lot of people get really tripped up, especially at the beginning stages, thinking, can I really just sign up to sell on Amazon? Like, don't I need to be a business? And the answer is no. You do not need to be a legal business entity to sell on Amazon. There are some advantages to being a business though. They may not be worth it for beginners, but there's always gonna be at least one cat interrupting me, I'm sorry. For beginners, forming a business may not be worth it, but I personally have a single member LLC, and I want to go over some of the advantages of being a business if you do choose to go that route. First off, having a business separates you, the person, from you, the business entity. Meaning if something happens on the business side, say you were sued or something for some reason, being separate as a business from a person means in most cases they can't come after the stuff on the personal side, just the stuff on the business side. But this is only if you're doing your stuff right, meaning you cannot mix business and personal together. You need separate bank accounts, you need separate credit cards, separate everything. It's called piercing the veil, and you don't want to do that. Obviously, if you don't anticipate doing anything that would get you sued, that might not be a really great benefit, but there are some other benefits to think about. If you're an Amazon seller and you think you might want to get into wholesale someday or buying wholesale to get ungated, some companies will only work with you if you're a business. And lastly, another great benefit is tax exemption. If you're buying items for resale, some companies accept a tax exempt form, so you won't have to pay taxes on that stuff. But since there's a lot of different accounting and paperwork involved, it's not always worth it for a beginner to go that route. I wouldn't suggest beginners go that route to form a business because, like I said, you don't need to. You don't need to do that to sell on Amazon. So with that little speed bump out of the way, we can segue into our next common question, which is, how do I get started? This is such a broad question, but I get asked it so often, I wanted to give you some sort of answer. It's literally as simple as going to Amazon and signing up for a seller account. Now, I do suggest that you have some sort of online sales background before you jump into Amazon. I like people to start with selling on eBay or Mercari or Poshmark, oh my goodness, Poshmark, so that you can get some experience with how to handle shipping orders and stuff out and customer service. Because with Amazon, it's kind of the big leagues. You don't want to be making rookie mistakes over there. So if you have some confidence with selling online already, even at the beginner stages, it's okay to move into Amazon next, because it's really not much different functionally. There are 2 types of selling accounts. One is known as individual and the other is known as professional. With the individual plan, you pay 99 cents per item for every item sold. In the professional plan, you pay a flat $40 a month. So if you sell over 40 items a month, professional makes more sense. But I know what you're thinking. I'm a beginner. I'm not going to be selling 40 items a month, so I should start with the individual plan, right? There are some other advantages to signing up for the professional plan, or rather some drawbacks to being an individual. The main one is you are not eligible for the buy box as an individual seller. You also cannot offer free shipping as an individual. Those are 2 major drawbacks to getting sales, especially if you are on heavily competing listings with a lot of other sellers. You're going to be at a huge disadvantage if you can't offer either of those things, because Amazon buyers like free shipping and they tend to just buy from whoever's in the buy box. They don't really click down into that area where you can see all the other sellers and pick someone else, even if that someone else is cheaper with shipping. So like I said, huge disadvantage to being an individual. You might be better off just paying that $40 a month because you might get more sales and make more money doing it. But of course, there's nothing wrong with starting off as an individual just to get a feel for the platform first. If you already have a buying account on Amazon, like if you've been buying on Amazon for a long time, I would suggest making a separate account for your selling so that you're not commingling the two. And then it's as simple as going to sell.amazon.com and signing up. If you click those buttons that say sign up, it's gonna automatically shoot you into the professional plan. To get to the individual option, you have to go to pricing and then scroll down a little bit. And then once you've picked your plan and you've signed up under your fresh new email account that's not commingled with your buying account, download the seller app on your phone, and then you've got your scanning ready to go because you can scan with the Amazon seller app. Which leads us to the next very, very common question that I get asked. Do I do FBA or FBM? This is a really good question because I think people are curious how someone at a full-time level runs their Amazon business. Some people are strictly FBA, which is fulfilled by Amazon. You send your stuff to Amazon and then they ship it to your customer. Some people are strictly FBM, which is fulfilled by merchant. You package it, you send it to your customer when it comes in. And the answer to what I personally do is both. Naturally, that begs the question of how do I decide what I'm selling FBM and what I'm selling FBA? First, let's talk about the benefits of each of these fulfillment methods. FBA items are eligible for Prime shipping. There is something called Seller Fulfilled Prime, but we're not going to cover that as a beginner. People who have Amazon Prime memberships tend to exclusively buy Prime items because they're going to get it faster and they really want that Prime shipping. So being an FBA offer, you can offer Prime shipping. FBA items, in my experience at least, tend to get picked for the buy box more, and as we discussed before, people like to just click on that buy box and not have to look at the other sellers. And one of the best benefits that people see for FBA is they don't have to warehouse their own inventory. You can buy a lot of stuff and send it into Amazon, and you don't have to have a warehouse, you don't have to take up all your closet space. You know, you don't really have to see the stuff beyond the buying and shipping part. The main drawbacks of FBA is it can be pretty time consuming to sit there and prep your items for FBA. They all need their own stickers. Some of them need expiration date stickers. Some of them need sold as a set or other specific stickers. Some of them need to be polybagged. There's a lot of little specific things that you have to do to get your inventory ready to send to Amazon, which can be a hassle. And also it can take a bit of time for your items to be checked in. I've had stuff sitting there for 2 to 3 months in some cases, waiting for Amazon to check it in and get it ready for sale. But in most cases, it's been ready for sale in 2 to 4 weeks. Most of the cons I discussed for FBA are pros for FBM. If you have an item that's moving great right now, like something that's a TikTok viral item that like the sales are right here, right now, you wouldn't want to FBA that stuff because it could take time to check in. You want to hit those sales now while the getting's good. You would want to FBM those. You get greater control of your inventory and how it's stored and shipped. Sometimes Amazon will damage things or pack them not great to your customer and it makes them upset. Granted, Amazon will strike through a lot of negative feedbacks for their own shipping problems. So if a customer tries to leave you a negative review and it was fulfilled by Amazon, they tend to strike it out so that it doesn't count against you. But for stuff that's really fragile or like collectible toys or something, I would caution against sending that stuff into FBA unless you prep it really well so Amazon can't damage it. And sometimes when you send your items into FBA, they just straight up lose them. You could send a ton of inventory in and they'll just be like, oopsie, we don't know where it is. And then you have to fight with Amazon to get a reimbursement on that stuff. You don't have to deal with that if the stuff is sitting in your own house and you know exactly where it is. Not to mention if that item gets an IP complaint from like a trademark holder or something, Amazon will freeze that inventory. And if you can't prove to the IP holder that your stuff is authentic and it has a good paper trail, they'll just seize that inventory and you'll never get it back. Again, if the stuff is sitting in your house, nobody can take it from you. So now that we've covered the pros and cons of both, I'll explain how I do it. So for me, if I have a large quantity of one SKU, like one specific bottle of shampoo or something, and I've got like 10 or 20 of them, I tend to prep those and send those in. If I have individual units of something, like I have one box of one thing, I tend to FBM it. So FBA for quantities, FBM for little small one-off things. In some cases, the FBA rates are actually more favorable than me shipping it myself. So you can punch these in on the Amazon sales calculator and see if you might actually have a price advantage to sending it FBA. And then that can also be a reason why you'd send it in FBA versus self-fulfilling. But as I mentioned before, I tend to tell beginners to stick with FBM, especially in your first month, so you get a feel for how things work. And then jumping into your very first FBA shipment is like its whole other thing. If you want me to make a walkthrough, a little handhold video about sending in your first FBA shipment, let me know and I can help you with that. All right, I'm signed up. I'm ready to do some FBM stuff. But everything I scan is coming back gated. How do I get ungated? I think this is the second most common question I get asked in the comments of all of my retail arbitrage videos. I know exactly how that feels because I went through the same gauntlet of everything being sort of walled off from you as a beginner, and it's very frustrating. The simple answer is, in order to ungate, you need to order product from a company that provides invoices and then give that invoice to Amazon. You can have category level ungates and brand ungates, and you can use one product to ungate both if it qualifies for both. So say you want Burt's Bees. You scan a Burt's Bees product, you're gated for it. How do I get ungated in Burt's Bees? You would need to find a wholesale company that sells Burt's Bees. You need to order 10 pieces of it. And then when you get that invoice for your purchase, you can submit that invoice to Amazon and they can go over it and either accept it or decline it. A receipt from a retail store is not an invoice. I repeat, a receipt is not an invoice. If you go to Walmart and you buy 10 Burt's Bees product and you give Amazon your Walmart receipt, they're gonna decline it because that is not an invoice. Invoices typically say invoice on them and they have a very specific look to them. Some brands who sell things online do provide an invoice instead of a receipt. And there are some surprising ways to get an invoice for products that you wouldn't think of. I have chosen not to openly talk about specific ways and specific brands to get ungated in because the information and the wholesale companies that work today might not work tomorrow. Like literally the company that I use to get product to get ungated for Pokemon and Little Tykes, Amazon will no longer accept their invoices. They decided to shut it down. So my suggestion for beginners is this. Start with what you can get ungated. Scan literally every product at the store, every brand. Do that little button that requests ungate. Sure, a lot of things are gonna say no and require that you give them an invoice, but a surprising number of things will just ungate for you right off the bat. So focus on those brands that give you an ungate early. I started with a lot of cleaning supplies. I started with books. There's a lot of things out there that don't have gates that you do have to start and sort of do the dirty work of getting started with. I know it's not fun and exciting like selling a lot of these high money bolos that I show off, but everyone has to start somewhere, including me. I started exactly where you are 3 years ago. I needed to go through the gauntlet of getting ungated as well. And the advice I'm giving to you is the advice that I used. I focused on what I was ungated in and tried to get sales there. A vast majority of my ungates came for free over time because as Amazon sees you building sales and your account has age to it, a lot of the stuff you request will get ungated automatically. And if you do want to pay for an ungate, like you want to find the wholesale company and you want to order some wholesale and get your invoice, I would recommend not just picking brands willy-nilly. Look at what you have stock of and what you can get stock of to sell, acquire that stuff that you want to sell, and then go get an invoice for it. Because there are some brands that I bought wholesale for early on that I thought I would really use, and then I never sold any of that brand. And I still haven't sold any of that brand. So I basically paid for inventory for an ungate for nothing. I've probably only paid for wholesale to ungate maybe a dozen brands. and that's it. The rest came for free over time. Amazon is a grind, and there's really no way around this hurdle. You have to put the work in. But Heather, I'll literally pay you if you just tell me a company I can buy from to get ungated in whatever brand. Okay, so I might have an option for you. I might be able to help you. Stick around to the end of the video because I'll cover it in a little more detail. Another question I get occasionally asked is how much do I make selling on Amazon? How much can you make selling on Amazon? Aren't all Amazon sellers just rolling in money? So I have not one, but 2 videos on my channel completely breaking down my reselling income because I do try and keep this really transparent with you guys. I'm not just showing gross numbers and being like, look at this money you can make on Amazon. Do not listen to anybody who's just showing gross numbers. You want to see the entire business model. So I do show you exactly how much money I've made on Amazon. So spoiler alert, I am not rolling in dough. I am comfortable. I'm making about as much as I would make if I had a real job, if not more, but I am far from rich. Most of the people who are showing millions in sales numbers on Amazon are only showing you the gross numbers. They're not showing you how much they're actually taking home off that $1 million. And spoiler alert, it's probably less than you think. There could be a person doing $2 million in sales on Amazon. That looks really cool. But then after all of their accounting and stuff, they're only taking home 100 grand, which is not bad. 100 grand is great. But what's more impressive to me is the person who's selling $200,000 on Amazon and taking home $100,000. Because to me, that shows they've got their business really distilled down to a science and their money is really working hard for them. Their margins are far better and they're probably pushing less units as well. I'm also not 100% Amazon. I sell on eBay, I sell on Mercari, I have an Etsy store. I really champion being a well-rounded seller because you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket. So I do a little bit of everything and that's what works for me. This next question is also super common and people ask me what I use to scan and what software do I use. I personally just scan with the Amazon seller app or the eBay app. And when I need more data, I use the free version of Keepa to look at the price history for that item. So I can see if a price is trending upwards or trending downwards. There are some other pieces of software out there that you can use for your Amazon business, but as a beginner, I don't think they're 100% necessary. I've found that I currently don't need them. I'm doing just fine without them. I'm not against doing them. I will be looking into some other software options for my business here pretty soon, but as a beginner, don't think that you need to buy all this fancy software and stuff to succeed. As long as you have a phone and you can scan stuff, you can go from there just fine. I think I've been asked this question once or twice, which is how do you sell hazardous items on Amazon? The Hazmat FBA program is only open by invitation. You can submit a request to be added to the program, but in my case, I think it took about a year for them to accept me. So if you have a hazmat item, such as a flammable hairspray, basically anything with alcohol in it, a lot of beauty products have alcohol in it that is flammable, some pesticides and stuff, cleaning products, anything that's kind of caustic, that all counts as hazmat. You cannot FBA those items until you get accepted into the hazmat program. You can still FBM them just fine though. But if you can be the only FBA seller on a listing full of FBM hazmat sellers, you know, it can be a pretty good thing for your business. So definitely request it if that's something that you think you're gonna wanna do, and then just wait and see if they accept you. It does take a lot of time though. Here's another super common question I get asked whenever I make a Amazon retail arbitrage video, especially showing heavily profitable discontinued items, and that is, how do you know what's profitable or being discontinued? Do you have a list? No, I do not have any sort of like list or printout that says, here's all the stuff being discontinued this month, have at it. Such a list doesn't exist. Some really enterprising individual who's great at like data scraping or has inside information with brands could probably make a lot of money doing like a discontinued website, discontinued news website. But yeah, such a thing does not exist. Of course, there are people who sell lists and there are BOLO groups, but they're not showing 100% of every discontinued item every month. A lot of that stuff is just found through trial and error and maybe Twitter threads. A lot of people ask on Twitter, and it's really easy to sort of sniff out what's being discontinued based on what the companies say. Some of them have discontinued lists on their own website, like I think Aveeno and Neutrogena both show lists of discontinued products. It's a little delayed though, but there are sources out there where you can sort of find information on discontinued products, but like I said, you do have to kind of put in the work to find it. I've tried to show you in multiple videos exactly how I'm kind of sniffing out the stuff that is worth money or is being discontinued. There are multiple ways. Multiple indicators that something might be on the way out. So as a beginner, when you look at what I'm doing, it can look like magic, or it can look like I'm just reading off of a list, but that is not the case. It's literally just oodles of experience doing it. You can always, as a beginner, in order to sort of replicate this, you will have to spend a lot more time scanning because you don't have the built-in sense that helps sort of guide you towards targeted items. It's completely normal. It is on my list of things to do a sort of POV, me looking through the shelves for a new profitable item so that you can see that I scan plenty of stuff that turns out to not be profitable, and talking you through like why I'm picking something up or what I'm looking for. So definitely subscribe to the channel if you're not already, if you want to see that video pop up in your feed. Which leads me to another very common question. Do I have a BOLO group, or do I offer coaching or mentoring? This question gets asked a ton. I also get people who come from my YouTube videos and follow me on Instagram and send me DMs. Can I join your BOLO group? Do you have a leads group? Where's your Facebook group? And all of that. And I always have to be like, I'm sorry, I don't currently have one. But I always tend to reply, I do want to make one. I'll let you know when I make one. And this is me letting you know that I've made one, so listen up. I resisted doing a standard sort of BOLO group for a long time because I'm really just afraid to disappoint. I would hate for anyone to sign up for this and then be unsatisfied. Now, I don't think anyone is gonna be that unsatisfied with what I'm providing, but at the same time, like it's a big leap for me. Like I have a big heart, and I just want to make sure that everyone is happy. And also, I really like sharing my stuff for free. I think it's really important to give back to the community that has given so much to me. There are some months that I find a lot of stuff. There are some months that I don't find much at all. Some people would probably be interested in really high level discontinued leads only, and some people are more interested in lower ROI replan type leads. So it's a lot to consider to make sure that everyone is going to be happy with what I provide. So I've given it a lot of thought, and this was the thing that kind of pushed me in the direction of starting one. There are other people out there who sell BOLO lists or have leads group or Discords, cook groups and whatnot. And I have been specifically told that these people are just scraping my stuff and other people's stuff that have been giving out information for free and sort of repackaging it as their own and selling it to people. And that really doesn't sit right with me. Sorry, my camera died, so the background might be off a little bit. But about a year or so ago in my Instagram stories, I actually talked about one such person that was rubbing me and some of the other people in the community the wrong way, because it seemed like they were just scraping everybody's stuff that they were sharing for free on Instagram and then repackaging it as a list and selling it to people. And I came with receipts too. I showed that every single thing that they were mentioning had been previously mentioned on Instagram conveniently. So there are a lot of unscrupulous people out there that are selling leads in BOLO groups, and I wanted to make sure that I was providing a sort of alternative to that, I guess. And because I have a pretty good following on Instagram and YouTube, and I didn't want to do just YouTube's like paid membership thing or Instagram's paid subscribers, I wanted to make like a neutral third ground. So I am doing mine through Patreon. Patreon, first and foremost, is going to be to support my channel. I love making videos. It gives me like a nice creative outlet and a place to do longer form ideas and such. But you do need to know that it's basically a labor of love, and I am not getting rich off of this. The amount of time it takes me to make a video, if I took that amount of time and used it to just do 100% sourcing instead, monetarily, I'd come out ahead sourcing. So I basically kind of lose money doing videos. But like I said, I love it and I love sharing it with you guys, so that's not a problem. But if you found my videos helpful, if you've made a little bit of money off of some of the stuff I've shared, if you just want to say thanks, or if you want to get some of my bolos, you now have an option to do that. Going to take a moment to quickly explain the tiers for you. First is Constellations, which is just a thank you tier. It's a small way to support the channel, and in exchange, you'll get some fun members-only content. I filmed a haul video that'll be kicking off this tier. Tier 2 is Shooting Stars. That's the BOLO Group. I'll post leads there as I find them with what information I can, plus everything from the previous tier. Tier 3 is Galaxy. This is the closest you'll get to coaching. If you have a question that requires more than a quick answer, such as needing help writing an Amazon POA, you want your eBay store evaluated, or you have specific questions about selling and growth or something you're struggling with, if you want another pair of eyes on your location, like to see if you missed any sourcing spots, helping with Ungates, I'll even help ID dolls if you have them. All within reason, of course. Plus, everything from the previous tier. Tier 4 is Supernova. It's the superfan tier. Maybe you found a bunch of those Revlon Eterna creams and made a bunch of money and you want to say thanks. So maybe you go Supernova for a month. You'll get everything from the previous tier, plus a verbal thank you at the end of my video for your support. You can always move up or down. Maybe you need extra help one month, but not the next, so you drop down a tier. Nothing is set in stone. You can move around or cancel at any time. And for those who can't or don't want to join, don't worry, you're not abandoned. I'm still gonna be making these videos and sharing this information for free, either here or on my Instagram page. But as you've seen in my videos, there tends to be sort of a delay between when I'm actually grabbing and filming this stuff and when the video comes out. So if you're somebody who's been like, I want to know about it now when you're grabbing it and not 3 months from now in a video that you make, then you might want to join the BOLO tier. So that was a long one. If there are any other questions that I haven't covered, I feel like I've covered a lot of what shows up in my comments about being a beginner Amazon seller. Leave them in the comments and I'll try and help you. Hopefully you feel now empowered to just start. Just go on Amazon, sign up for the account, list your first item, and see how it goes. I know it's scary and there's a lot of like mental block with getting started, but like I promise you, getting started, getting it going in the first place is the hardest part. Start today. Now I will be hopefully making a video about how I went from being a part-time eBay seller to where I am now, because again, transparency is important and I want you to know how I made that journey. My next video will probably be about some really cool stuff I've had going on in the background at the very end of September and the whole month of October. It was actually supposed to be this month's video, but I'm still working through some issues with it. So hopefully I'll have that exciting update for you in the next video. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so, because I release one video a month, at least one video a month, all about my full-time reselling adventures, be it retail arbitrage on Amazon or thrift selling on eBay. Follow me on Instagram because I post little bite-sized pieces of my content in my stories. You can see the kind of stuff I'm picking up at the thrift, and any sort of other advice or interesting things I have to share tend to be there. I always appreciate likes and comments on my videos. They definitely help me in the algorithm. So if you're still here at the end, if you still really liked this video and what I had to say, drop me a like, please. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Now get out there, have fun, and find something good.